So a part of the Mudgal Committee report which was submitted to the Supreme Court has been made available to the media, and we've been talking about it endlessly since Monday, where the news channels managed to get access to those sheets of paper. And Dileep, a lot of chatter. The big news points coming out initially, Gurunath was also given a clean chit. Then it emerged that he had not really been given a clean chit. Srinivasan seems to have been given a clean chit, according to reports in the media. What do you make of the information that's come out and the way it's been presented so far?
Well, I think the presentation is the key thing. When you say a clean chit, it's from allegations against him made by media houses for a large part, not by the committee itself. I think that the three main charges against Srinivasan, that he was involved in spot fixing, that he was involved in betting, that he was involved in suppressing an independent inquiry, all three have been found not to be true. So he doesn't have much to answer for when it comes to this particular case, apart from the fact that it seems that the BCCI was sleeping at the wheel when this happened, which is a serious allegation in itself.
Especially the bit where it says that, maybe not connected to the IPL, Dileep, but talking about a player violating a code of conduct, a breach at some stage which Srinivasan and 4 other BCCI officials were aware of, but did nothing. That could be somewhat incriminating, depending, of course, on what the violation was.
Yeah, A, we don't know what the violation is as of now. B, as far as I know, that incident dates back to 2010 and has nothing to do with the IPL. So I don't know how it comes under the ambit of this particular inquiry.
Why was it mentioned then if it's not part of the IPL?
I'm not sure. Because that player is currently active in the IPL, so I presume it had something to do with that. But the incident itself did not take place during the IPL, as far as I know.
Just picking up some of the thoughts that came out in television discussions and things like that. Sundar Raman being made a scapegoat. Is that true? He's been a very important part of everything that's gone on. Now, I'm not saying that he's to blame, but what's your take?
The two serious charges I mentioned in inverted commas against him, especially on TV channels, seems to be one that he spoke to a contact of a bookie. Now, that to me really means nothing. I mean, we've spoken to police officers or bookies themselves in connection with stories. I may talk to you right now. I don't know what you have going on.
Absolutely.
Elsewhere. I mean, it's impossible when you're in that position, when you're IPL COO, you have to deal with all kinds of people, celebrities, minor celebrities, team owners, players' friends. How do you know, how can you do a background check on each of these thousands of people? I don't really think so. I think it's...
In the past, however, Dileep, we have talked about these people being accredited as well. We've talked about it.
No, that is an issue.
Yeah.
That's a major issue.
Now, I'm not saying Sundar Raman should be doing it, but yeah.
But the two things that the BCCI needs to do ASAP once this verdict is out and once the court gives its suggestions. One is it has to open up. It's not 1960s Russia anymore. You cannot silence people. You can't quash information that's out there. There will always be an Edward Snowden or somebody else who brings this information into the public domain. So it's in your best interest to be transparent about the way things were done. So I'd love to see somebody sit down and say, look, this is what happened. This is a sequence of events. This is what we tried to do. This is what we didn't do right. I think a step like that would do a whole lot to restore credibility. The second thing is what we spoke about earlier. Who do you give accreditation to? There are a lot of so-called journalists in the press box. There are a lot of people who hang around the team, so-called agents. You really do need to be more careful about people who have access to the players and to the team management. I think that there's no way around that.
The other part is, of course, we've in the papers we got from or part of the Mudgal Committee report were individual number 1, and then it went to individual number 11, 12, 13, if I remember right. So you'd probably assume that the people in between were the cricketers who have been talked about, a couple of names inadvertently or otherwise given out as well. Not a good thing at all. But that part of the report probably assumes greater significance at this stage, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, ultimately, the credibility of a sport largely rests. I mean, the administrators play a key role, make no mistake about that. But for the average follower of the game, if you're a West Indian, for example, you've had rubbish administration for many years now. You're not really going to get too obsessed about that. It's the team that you care about. It's the players that you care about. And if it's found that those players have been selling you short, then it's a huge crisis.
Absolutely. That becomes the much more critical part of the report. Like, exactly as Dileep just said, what happens to a Gurunath or a Raj Kundra might not matter terribly to the cricket world. But then, since we brought up those two names, one's obviously a part of Chennai Super Kings, whether he wants to be or not. One is a co-owner of Rajasthan Royals. If it emerges in the next month, 2 months, whenever the hearings get over, or maybe further down the road, what happens to those two teams?
It depends entirely on how strictly that IPL code is enforced, because if you go by the letter of the law, I think those two franchises would have been terminated, I don't know, 15, 18 months ago because of these two individuals being involved in these kind of activities. Mind you, they haven't, neither has been found guilty of spot fixing. That needs to be stressed.
It's only betting at this
point. Betting in India is a criminal offence, but one that's trivialized to the extent that I think the punishment is 3 months imprisonment and a 250 rupee fine. So I don't know how you can.
That, yeah.
I think that's at the core of the problem. If you want to control betting, the laws around it need to be far more stringent, and they aren't right now. And as long as they're like this, it doesn't even compel the police to act, because I've spoken to police officers who've said, why would I tap an individual's phone and risk getting sacked, losing my job, when all that he's going to suffer is a trivial fine and a 3-month suspended sentence. So that's at the heart of this as well.
On the whole, again, going by news channel discussions, there was a lot of talk of, all these months, the extension for the committee. At the end of it, what have they got? I was sort of thinking and talking to someone and saying that, the fact, an investigation doesn't necessarily need to find the guilty. It can also find the innocent. That could be a part of it. And it does seem that at least this part of the report that's come out seems to have done that to a large extent. At least gone through the data well enough, or so we hope, and cleared a lot of doubts.
Yeah, and you have to remember that the investigation is not a TV lynch mob. It can only act on fact and on actionable evidence that's there in the public domain or with the people that they've spoken to. They can't go on, surmise or conjecture. That's not how the justice system works, and long may it stay that way. So they have done what they can do in the framework prescribed for them by the court, and we await the rest of the revelations, whatever they may be.
I suppose the next bit of the revelations, or at least the next update, should be with us around the 24th of November or thereabouts, and then of course more and more as we go along. For the moment, thanks Dileep for helping us understand what the situation really is. It's complicated, of course, but some of the judgments and decisions made on TV might just be slightly off the mark. It's best to probably wait and let the Supreme Court form its mind on the matter.